Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of 3A Composites Live Learning. My name is Alan Plunkett, Director of Retail Design and Sustainability. As always, working our magic behind the scene. It's Hannah Wells. Thanks for joining us today. I think we have a pretty cool little program for you today. And with that, I'll hand it off to a gentleman that needs no introduction, Mr. Doug Twitchell. And he'll take us from here and let you know what we've got on tap for today.
Thanks, Alan. Welcome, everybody. My name is Doug Twitchell, Director of Distributor Relations at 3A. A couple of weeks ago, Alan and I made a trip up to Zund's North American headquarters, just outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They have an absolutely beautiful facility, and it's indicative of the first-class operation that they have there at Zund. So today, I'm going to introduce you to Sarah and to Keith. And we worked closely with them to create this video. You'll see some cutting today of FOME-COR and SINTRA, be able to ask some technical expertise for that. After the video, we'll take your questions. You can put them in the chat function and we'll get to your questions afterwards. One of the things as we're going through today, there's a lot of information and a lot of details about best practices. And at 3A on our website, we have under our documents there, we have a technical data that will go through a lot of what we will review today. And they're called our Tech Talks. And there is one in there for cutting FOME-COR and one in there for cutting SINTRA that are all specific to working with Zund's equipment. So you can find that on our website, which is www.3acompositesusa.com. So take advantage of that. And with that, I'll hand it over to Keith and to Sarah to introduce yourselves.
Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Marshall, and I am an application specialist at Zund America. I started as an intern a year ago in January, and I started as a full-time application specialist here in June of last year. So I focus a lot on trade shows and helping customers find the best products in terms of material for what they're trying to do to get to their customers. So that's a lot of what I do.
Hi, I'm Keith Sawyer. I am also an application specialist here at Zund. I'm also in charge of the training department and several other things around here, automation, robotics, and other things. I've been here for quite a while and have a lot of background in a few things, and make sure that we're here to help out our customers as well as our partners that we have out in the world there, so as 3A is one of them and a very good partner. And I'd like to welcome everybody to this webinar with us.
Great. And I just want to thank Keith and Sarah for allowing us there. We learned a lot. It's great to meet you both. You're great at what you do. Taught us things outside of just cutting. So some other things we learned as well. And fortunately, Doug got out a little better than I did. I got stuck there for a couple of days with some weather, but that is what it is this time of year. So with that, let's get ready to roll a video that we took there. So grab your popcorn, grab a soda, whatever it might be. Sit back, dim the lights, and let's watch a little video Keith and Sarah put together for us.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of 3A Composites Live Learning. I'm Alan Plunkett, Director of Retail Design and Sustainability, and joining me as always is Doug Twitchell, Director of Distributor Relations.
Welcome, everybody. We are here today just outside of Milwaukee at Zund's North American headquarters. We're going to show you some great things today on cutting our materials. We're going to be looking at our FOME-COR product and the SINTRA material. You're going to see how easy these products are to cut. Really going to be a lot of fun. So we look forward to bringing you inside and showing you some great stuff.
Yeah, so buckle up, come on inside, meet Keith and Sarah, and we'll cut up a bunch of 3A Composites materials.
right, so we just saw some great things being cut, and Keith is here with us from Zund. Keith, maybe tell us a little bit about what we saw being cut, why we chose particular blades to cut that material, and what would be the reason we would use one type of cutting over another.
Sure, absolutely. We started off with a foam board, and the foam board we cut with a static blade, or a drag knife as we like to call it, and the blade we chose was a Z46 blade. It's a high-speed blade used mainly, it was designed for carpet cutting, but it's also really good at cutting foam cores and corrugates and things like that. The beauty of it is we can cut it at full cut speed, so 40 inches a second, 4 for acceleration, and get an excellent cut. Doesn't mean it's the only way to cut that material. You have optional ways, of course. Electric oscillating tool would be another choice. We have a couple different oscillating tools. An EOT 1 millimeter stroke would be your best bet for that. And then you can cut really intricate designs with that. So if you have any standees you're doing, or you might want to get some real detail around someone's hair, that would probably be the best tool for that. With that compromise comes a little bit of loss in speed, because you're wanting to kind of get those really kind of detailed cuts, and those you kind of lose a little bit of speed over those real fast straight lines that we were cutting today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Then after that, we cut some of our Sintra material. We cut some 3 millimeter black Sintra. We cut it 2 different ways.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what processes you use there.
Once again, it can be cut in a multiple ways, and in this one we use a Z11 blade, which is has a very sharp point to it, and we can drag knife that just as well at full cut speed, 40 inches a second. But then there's times when you get around a tight radius or something like that you really want to get that nice detail. You might have to move on to a router like we did. So that material is a plastic-based product, so it has the ability to be also routed. And we chose a 4 millimeter bit for that, and that was able to get into nice and tight details for anything that you would like to cut out. Now, once again, with that compromise comes a little bit of speed. When you're routing materials, you're not routing it at full speed. You have the RPMs of a router bit that you have to maintain and so on like that. So cutting through that material and keeping it clean. But you could see that in the end, you got a really good quality edge on each one of them, and choices. You know, what is it you're trying to create at the end? And that's one thing about your product is it's versatile on both sides, not only on the printing and adhesion for things like that, but also if maybe somebody wants to cut it a certain way or doesn't have that tool, and wants to cut it with a specific tool, our software and our cutter will accommodate those things.
Yeah, it's amazing. All of our materials are already loaded into the Zund equipment, so you just select whatever you're going to cut. It walks you right through it.
That's exactly right. So everything based on the material profile, you just know what material you're going to cut. You select that material. It will actually prompt you as to what tool to have installed, and then set that profile up exactly for you to cut. We didn't do anything today other than just run that material like you normally would, and off it went.
And the tools that you use today, the cutting tools, what specifically is better about what you're supplying on those tools?
Once again, you know, it's all about our quality. We want to make sure that you have a blade or a router bit. You know, we stand by our product and make sure that we're doing things correctly. Everything, all the profiles are already designed so they cut your material properly, and that goes for the equipment itself, making sure that you pick the right router bit, the right blade, or whatever it is, to make sure that you get the highest quality cut at the fastest speed you possibly can get.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back. I'm sure everybody recognizes Sarah from earlier in the video, and we're here to take a couple more questions.
Right, so Zund is in a bunch of different markets. What makes our machines so critical to your market?
What's really critical about it, for those that don't know, I work in the retail world. I work with North America's largest retailers, restaurant groups, hospitality groups. With that, I also end up in a lot of the larger print facilities in the United States. And there's a couple of factors that really come into play. Retail can be just a little bit demanding, to say the least. And some of the factors that come into play are speed is very key, but also durability and the precision of the cut. So anybody that knows people in the retail world, they'll walk into their store and they'll immediately see a seam on a wall, or they'll see a sign with a little burr on it. So one of the most important things about it is the quality of the cut. You always want your retail people to walk in and see just a beautiful cut. up on what they have and the durability. Of course, if you talk to most of the larger the PSP, excuse me, companies, the biggest headache they have is on the back end. You can have the best printer in the world, but if you can't cut the material on the back end and you can't get it out in a timely manner, that can become a real headache for the retailers who are constantly asking to get their material quickly. Had a worldwide large beverage company program a few years back where the printer was having some issues on the back end and they were literally stagging the truckloads of material coming in out over a 3, 6, 8 week period just because the back end was holding them up. So Zund offers all of those answers.
So is there any other interesting facts about the 3A material and the Zund product that you could tell us about?
What is really interesting is how we work together. You see in Zund and 3A Composites everywhere. We are the predominant material in the industry. We like to say we invented all of these products you use, whether it's Sintra, Devon, FOME-COR, we invented them and their use, and we see Zund equipment everywhere that we go, and it's a similar thing. You get what you pay for, and we think we work well together for that reason.
100%. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
No, we just want to thank everyone for allowing us to be here today. We've enjoyed your hospitality. It's a wonderful facility. I learned a lot. There's a few tricks that Doug and I learned while we were here that we'll take back with us, and it's been a blast being here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you learned a lot. I think it was terrific.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time on 3A Composites Live Learning.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. I do want to say for anybody listening, if you want to go back at a later time and view this, this video will be available on our website under the display and graphics. It'll be under a webinar section. This and other webinars we've done also will be on YouTube as well for after that. So now we had a few questions come in. We sent out before earlier this week. Some things that came back in, but first I wanted to ask, while we were on that, wanted to ask Keith and Sarah, what equipment was it that we were watching? I forgot to write it down. What equipment was it? Is there equipment that you would suggest that is best for either of those products, and any new models or something like that as well?
The machine we were cutting on was a G3 3XL 3200. It's actually one of our largest machines. It's a 10 meter or a 3.2 meter machine, or 10 foot by 10 foot. We also had just one universal module on there holding a universal cutting tool, or a UCT. We used Z11, Z46 blades for cutting the different materials. And then we had a 3.6 kilowatt router when we ran the router with an 8-bit automatic bit changer on there. So those were the machines. That was the machine we used. But your material, those materials can be cut on any of our cutters with the proper tooling. So it could be an S3, a G3, a D3, any one of those machines with just a universal module and a drag knife will cut most all of it. And then also we have a 1 kilowatt router that would have routed, the PVC Sintra if you wanted to route it. Otherwise, you could knife cut it.
Perfect. And then I had a couple questions come in that kind of are similar, so I'll ask that. One was, is it important to use the Zund blade? And another was, is there a blade that you suggest, and how long would you expect a blade to last?
Yeah, a Zund quality is Zund quality. That's one thing we're very proud of, is that, not only do we take our machines, to the highest level, but we make sure that you have the highest standard in knives. If you do decide to use a generic blade from somebody else, you might not get the same cut speeds or the same longevity out of a blade. So we find that is really important. Longevity wise, it really is about how many inches of what you're going to be cutting. FOME-COR, you get an awful lot of cutting out of FOME-COR. It's not very destructive to a blade. Of course, PVC, the Sintra, will cause the blades to wear a little bit faster. But once again, the life expectancy is quite high. There's tungsten carbide blades, incredibly sharp and incredibly durable. So we really do pride ourselves in that. And also by using our blades, you get the cut speeds that are set in our software to match that blade quality and type. So those are really important features.
Perfect. Doug, did you get any questions in?
Yeah, I had one here about knowing which cutting device to use. So depending upon what maybe the radius or something that you're cutting out of the material, how do you know if you should be using the router or the knife cut or maybe an oscillating blade on the FOME-COR or the SINTRA material?
So typically, to choose what tool you're going to use, you have to think about the end product that you're looking for. Depending on what we call the edge quality, that's what you're going to use to base what you want to cut with. So with a UCT and a stagnant knife, you're going to get sometimes a little bit of a rougher edge because it's going to go as quickly through that material as possible. But for some products and for some customers, that's completely fine. They just need to get these products out the door. Maybe it's going to be an internal product and their final product, so they don't really care what it looks like on the edge. Other customers, if you're making a movie theater display of the newest movie coming out this summer, you want that edge to be as perfect as possible because people are going to be walking by it, they're going to be looking at it, they're going to be seeing it all the time and from every angle. So for that, especially out of a FOME-COR product, we would definitely have you use an oscillating blade because it would be slower and it would have a more precise edge on that material. The same thing kind of goes with the SINTRA material because it's a plastic PVC. With the thin 1/8 inch, you can cut it through with a knife, and it is of course going to be faster, but the edge quality is going to be a little lower. Routing it allows you to have very, very tight corners, very, very precise edges, and but it does take a little bit more time. So it just depends on what your end goal is.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. And I can say from a retail perspective, anything permanent or semi-permanent, always go with the cleaner look on that. Take a little bit extra time. They'll be happy with that. And then
I'd like to add is,
yeah.
You always get that thing, quality versus speed,
Yep.
kind of that, there's a point at which we can go faster, but your quality level might drop. Doesn't usually affect, I'll be honest, most of your materials doesn't usually work that way. But if you got really, really tight radiuses and you really want to get that really, really nice, radius around that, you might have to run a oscillating blade as opposed to a drag knife. Yep.
Yep, perfect. And then I'll be selfish here and then insert one of my own questions. I'm the host, so I can do this. One of the things I see a lot in some PSPs and print service providers that I go into when I'm meeting with like the ownership is they have some issues, try to word this the right way, try to be diplomatic, but from shift to shift on the back end where they have some trying to figure out what one person did to the next person and they manipulate and, everybody has their own way they like to work things, I guess, when they're back there. So they have some issues from shift to shift on getting consistent cutting going. Is there any suggestions you might have for somebody on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the nice thing about it is the material database is just that. When you first get your material that you're going to be cutting, we have a database. You pick that material out of the database and you cut it. Now, real world, as opposed to what we do here in our beautiful facility, might not be exactly the same. You might run, 300 sheets and realize that if you ran it a little bit slower, you would get a longer life expectancy out of the bit or blade. And we give you that option to do that. But once you make that adjustment, you save that in the database, just hit save. And now that's the default setting for that material. So that material profile, doesn't matter what shift you're running, every shift does it the same. If you have an issue where you have operators that, think they're going to come up with their better way of doing things, you can actually lock that so it doesn't actually get changed. Okay. And it's actually permanent to that material.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Doug, do you have anything? You have a question? You want to read one of the ones in chat?
See what we've got.
I'll read one from Miguel. I'm an artist and I currently am painting on 3 aluminum composite panels I need to glue hangers on the back of the panels to hang the artwork. Can you advise what hanging bracket product you may have that I can use?
Hey, Alan, I addressed Miguel directly on this.
Oh, okay. All right, Chris, you want to introduce yourself real quick and explain why you did that?
Sure.
It's very appropriate. So yeah.
My name is Chris Markle. I'm the manager of technical services and sustainability here at 3A, and I swear I can talk better. I'm here to help with technical questions you might have with cutting, with printing, gluing brackets on the back of fine art to hang them on the walls, gluing different materials together, all of those kinds of things. So that's what I'm here for.
I was about ready to throw that one to you, Chris, but you were all over it already, as always. So thank you. Doug, there's another one in there from Chris. If you want to go ahead and read that one, if you got the chat up. If not, I can do it.
I didn't see one.
I see it. I got it. Yeah. Which router bit did you use when cutting Sintra?
Yeah.
I used a 504. It's an upcut bit, some people would say. Also, you can also use a 204. The difference isn't, there is some difference in the fluting. The 504 is also coated, so it'll have a longer life in harder materials. So, the coating helps keep the heat down. But I use 4mm bit because if you go too big, like a 6mm, it'll do fine. You can use a 6mm bit, but you're not going to get any major increase in cut speed. And when you have that wider channel for the PVC to route, it actually start kind of shooting out the channel a little bit. So I go down to a 4mm, sometimes even a 3mm on that thin stuff. And it just makes a really clean cut and doesn't leave any debris at all. I mean, at all, as you saw when Sarah took it off the table, there was no debris on the table at all. So works out really well.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess.
And the software will recommend which bit to use based on the material you're going to cut. And based on what router bits and knife bits you have. So if you may not have a 504, but you have a 204, it will recommend a 204 based on that. Now, if it thinks that there's a better bit for you to use, but you don't own it, it'll actually put a recommendation. Hey, there is a better bit in here. Maybe next time, order up one of these and it'll give you that option. And the other thing our machine does is it keeps track of blade or router bit and blade life. You can say, I get so many meters of cutting out of a blade. And as you get close to that time, it'll set up a reminder to say it's close to replacing a blade. But what's really cool on the router bit side is you saw we had an 8-bit router bit changer. If you primarily use a 504 bit in there to cut Sintra every day, you can put 2 or 3 in there. And based on what you're going to cut, it's going to take the bit that works best for getting that whole life out of it for that piece. So a little bit of AI in there.
What would be an indication that you need to change the blade? Say if you're cutting FOME-COR, what are you going to see that's going to be an alert to you that says, hey, it's time to change this blade out?
It's quality. You're going to look at the edge of that material and go, oh, it's starting to, ripple a little bit, or maybe I got a little bit tear out at one point or something to that effect. Or maybe you broke the tip off. You just keep an eye on your material and you will know pretty straight away when you're like, all right, I think a sharp, clean blade might be able to remedy whatever little issue I'm having. And normally it just kind of creeps up on you. Quality is always what you best feel that your quality level needs to be. A lot of people will, be happy with just getting it out, and others want fresh, clean, sharp, beautiful edges all the time. So, you can keep running a blade for quite a long time, and I've seen some go for an incredible amount of time. All depends on that quality level you want to put out.
Terrific.
So with that, how about we're on time so far? So give some last thoughts, Keith, Sarah, some last thoughts, and Doug, and some last thoughts, and then I'll put everybody to bed and say goodnight.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. go to our website. We're also on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, so on. And if you need us for anything, I'm sure Sarah could fill us in on the rest.
Yeah, so we have a lot of things coming up this year. Just like 3A, we're going to be going to a bunch of different trade shows. So if you want to see us online and then come see us in person, that's definitely an option. And all those events are listed on our website and advertised on our social media pages. So most of the time, both of us are there and you can come talk to us in person.
Awesome.
It's terrific. Yeah. So, again, thank you guys for your hospitality when we were there. It was terrific. We learned a lot. Excited. We own a Zund also in our Glasgow, Kentucky plant. So people that receive FOME-COR cut to size from us, that's how we cut it. So it's a good partnership that we have with Zund. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us. Alan?
Yep. Thanks everyone for joining us. I want to say I try not to touch anything on my computer once this gets going, but I did see that Jen is on. I want to thank her for being there and just let everybody know if you have any questions afterwards. It's just first name dot last name at 3acomposites.com. Reach out to us for anything. And lastly, for Sarah and Keith and Hannah, they did all the heavy lifting on this. Doug and I just had to show up and talk a little bit. So thank you. Thank you for the hospitality of being up there. Thank you for all the work behind the scenes on this. We really enjoyed it. It was a blast. And with that, I'll just say we look forward to seeing you next month on 3A Composites Live Learning. Thanks for joining us.